Hi guys, Dumelan Legai. In today's video, I'm going to dissect the phenomenon of celebrity culture in South Africa. And the reality of the story is that celebrity culture is not a South African thing. That thing is non-existent. But there are reasons why celebrity culture is not a thing that is part of the culture of South Africa. Yes, we have famous people, we've got musicians and all of these things, but these people are not necessarily celebrities like overseas. So the whole issue of paparazzi culture and being treated as like small gods in South Africa, that's not the case. There are various reasons why South Africans don't operate like that. Now, the thing that we must start with, number one, is that we need to understand that South African celebrity culture is deeply related to being a relatable person. Relatability is one of the biggest pillars of how you become a very big and famous person. You could be very talented. You could be a person who's within the space and doing amazing things because of your talents and gifts. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you are relatable. And what does that mean? We find ourselves in a complex where, over time, the way South Africans interact with fame, it's a historical thing, meaning that you have to represent their values, you have to represent their specific cultures, you have to represent their specific struggles. So with that being said, your being relatable, it's how you speak to their day-to-day struggles, or how you speak to the struggles that have came over time in the South African communities and societies and the different types of cultures. So now, that's why a lot of people do not become celebrities on the level of the American scale, where if people see you in the streets, they can stop whatever they're doing. Oh, they could love your music, they could recognize it's you, but they're not gonna be jumping all over the place. The relatability aspect of all of this is the common factor in everything else. That when they see you, do they see themselves through you? Do they want to emulate you based on the fact that, yeah, I'm from a township, I'm from a village, I need to be like this person because this person defeated these circumstances that South Africans find themselves in. So that's where the separation is in terms of being relatable. And for the fact that you speak to their struggles also, that even though you are on these platforms and you are big and you're doing all these amazing things, do you still remain relatable? Can they still hear you through even you becoming hyper successful? Or you have this common denominator where people tend to whitewash themselves after they get money, and now they don't want to associate themselves with the backgrounds that they are from. Number two, another thing that we need to understand is that American entertainment system creates celebrities. Here we don't create celebrities. People have talent and then they come into the space and they have opportunities by cultivating their gifts. So now there's a huge, enormous commercial scale in the benefit of creating celebrity culture overseas in terms of the industries there, from entertainment, from all the businesses there. It's what is part of the consumerism that exists that side. So here, most of us, we have a disconnect to most commercial industries. You only become recognized by commercial industry if you have proven yourself and that your talents are something that the industry cannot ignore. So now that's where the issue is, that industries here are not creating talent. They're not searching for the talent. The talent has to put itself out there for it to be recognized. That's why there is such a divide in terms of that. Hence why celebrity culture does not exist. You have to first bank on yourself and cultivate your talents in the darkness, cultivate it in an unknown village somewhere in the Eastern Cape or wherever the case may be, somewhere in a shack in the townships out there. So celebrity culture will not exist on that level because it is not a commercial, it's not a commercial idea. Oh. So a lot of people have to work on their crafts for industries to come to them and recognize that this person is doing a good job. For instance, I'm making this video. The more I create educational content and I engage my own audiences and my audience grows, that's how the commercial industry finds me. by always putting myself out there and growing audiences. My numbers then bring the clientele in the business. Oh, it's not that I can just sit around and the business comes to me. So in America, they specifically focus on finding the talent, searching for the talent, so that they can make money off the talent. So here is the opposite. The talent needs to sell itself so that the industry can invest in the talent. I hope that makes sense. Number 3, South Africa is a very fragmented society. What does that mean? You find that a Zulu celebrity or a Zulu artist, musician, icon, whatever the case may be, is not relatable to other cultural demographics. So that's where the problem comes in, that we are fragmented within ourselves. I can find myself as a Pedi man. I don't want to listen to Zulu music. But when I go to my Pedi people, I am an icon, I'm a star. So that fragmentation and separation is also what's creating the problem, because the pie is in segments. The pie is in different separations. So not every celebrity can tap into all of the 11 official languages. And that's when, if you become relatable to that level where all 11 tribes in the country are willing to listen to you and absorb or consume your content or whatever craft that you have, that's when you have accessed the highest level of society in terms of being a relatable individual. So the fragmentation is also the part of the issues why celebrity culture is not a thing in South Africa. So we need to also expand on that to understand that the fragmentation of the society, it does not create an environment for people to be celebrities in that sense, because you might not be recognizable to every single South African because they speak different languages, they are moving different. If we had only one language, all of us would be celebrities, if that's the space that you're operating in, because you are a commodity that can be consumed by everyone else. Number 4, South Africans, is the thing. South Africans can be simultaneously, like, they can be fascinated by celebrities. At the same time, they can be skeptical of you by the fact that you are on the space, you are famous. Because you need to sell yourself and build the trust and the connection that I'm speaking about. That how do you build a connection as a Pedi man to a Zulu community? And that's where a lot of celebrities are struggling, because they don't have methods or even the capacity to understand that there is fragmentation within the industry. There is separation within the industry. We are a separated society. So for you to be relatable as a Tswana man, as a Pedi man to other tribes, it takes a lot. And you have to build those connections and the trust through your brand reputation, through you and your music, if it's relatable to that level. I hope I'm making sense. So there is a skeptical nature that, people can see that you are big in the space. They might like what you're doing, but they're skeptical of you because you are not part of their tribes. You're not part of their communities. So until you have the buy-in to exist within those communities, you have to build connections and trust, and your brand needs to speak to them on that level that you can be accepted. For instance, we can mention AKA, the late AKA. The late AKA translated to all types of cultures because he was running with the flag of being South African. He was a patriot. He was standing for South Africa. He was speaking on South African issues. And this is the disconnect that a lot of celebrities do not understand. That the minute you disassociate yourself from the people, your relevancy becomes limited. Your fame is limited. You don't stay in the minds of the people. That's why even years later, even the music industry has not recovered from the loss of AKA, because AKA transcended all of the tribes. Everybody listened to AKA, a Zulu speaking man, a Tswana speaking man, an Afrikaner speaking man, and even women on those aspects. So this is the part that I'm speaking about, that there is a skeptical nature with the connection that South Africans have with their celebrities, and how you overcome that is by building trust over time and connecting with your audience and building those specific connections. Number 5, South Africans want their celebrities to be connected to ordinary life. As much as we can want and the lifestyle that you have and this big thing that you have, but we don't want you to be disconnected. I'll give you an example of the Limpopians and the Eastern Cape people and the Zulu people, and even the Tswanas. We can see you on your Instagram and your socials. You are posting on those platforms, but we still want to see you that you're still going to the village. You're still connected to the people that you left behind, that she's building a home for her mother, she's building a home for her parents, all those types of things. We still want you to be connected to the background that you are from. The minute you become disconnected, I will admire you, but we won't necessarily take you seriously. So this is where a lot of celebrities are failing, in that instance, that they have disconnected themselves from the environments and spaces that they grew up in. Now they want to live in Sandton in Cape Town. And that's why their brands do not become recognized on that level. Not every South African sees them as somebody that's important. We move on to number 6. Westernization is not necessarily the problem. And Western media and how its influence is in South Africa. The disconnect is the problem. And what does that mean? The minute you start wanting to sound American and become American, that's where the problem begins. That's where a lot of these South Africans lose the plot. That yes, learn from your counterparts overseas, but don't try to be like them. That's why it always even backfires to all of them when they go overseas trying to become like Americans, because Americans even hate that thing, because that's not what they're trying to consume. They don't want you to be like them. They want you to be an authentic South African. They want you to be a product of the environment that you are from, and give them a taste of your offering and your authenticity. That's why a lot of them cannot grow their brands overseas, because they are trying to be Americans. That's where the problem is. We move on to number 7. Historically, and I've mentioned it a little bit on it, but I'm going to expand on it further now. South Africans have historically had a different relationships with celebrities. And what does that mean? Our celebrities used to be activists. Those were the famous people who used to fight the struggle, people post 1994, the politicians and all of those things. Those are the people who became celebrities, the people who used to speak about the struggle through their music, through their acting, through all of these things. It has been a different thing. The cultural representation, you are a proud Zulu, you are a proud Pedi. Those representations, that's how we relate to you becoming a celebrity. So now people are trying to be westernized and American. That's where the disconnect is. That's why a lot of them don't become celebrities on that level, because they're trying to disconnect themselves from the things that have created the celebrity climate in South Africa. That's why the problem is like that. That's why right now it's difficult for a lot of them to have a career that outlasts time for 10, 20 years, because they are not the framework of what a celebrity is in South Africa. Lastly, South Africans give a greater respect to achievement than fame itself. What does that mean? You could be famous for whatever reason, but the achievement that you took yourself from a village, you took yourself from a township, you took yourself from the darkest of places, of segregation, of separation, of being in a very unequal society, and you overcame, and you are still a representation of those spaces and environments. That's how they respect you. That's how they garner your respect. But I hope this video was educational. I hope this video transcended some of the things that we haven't really grasped to understand what a celebrity is for South Africans. But yeah, please like and subscribe and comment and tell me what you guys think in the comments there. Thank you very much.